Alrighty. So, my name's Johnny. Jim?
Jim.
Jim. Very nice to meet you, Jim.
How you doing?
We're shaking hands. So, Jim, what do you think happens after you die?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Nope.
Are you afraid of death?
I think more than anything, I'm a little nervous about my kids and if they're going to be okay after I'm gone.
Sure.
I'm a little older, to have children. I have a 14 and a 12-year-old, and I'm 55. So, they're going to spend a good chunk of their life without me, and so I am concerned that they're going to be okay without me around. I'm sure that in the last few moments of my life, if I know that I'm about to die, I'm sure it's going to be pretty scary to just not know what's coming next. But there's zero evidence anywhere of what actually happens after you die, other than some anecdotal stuff of people that have been dead medically and come back, and they talk about the white light in the hallway and all that. But basically, I don't know, and I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it.
Okay. We actually met a guy who went to heaven, so I think you kind of cut that. Your argument's just gone right there. I'm just kidding, bro.
If he says so.
Okay, we actually interviewed someone
We did,
down
actually.
there.
Yeah. Well, if
We
he
asked him
says
the
so.
same question. What do you believe? Oh, he's like, oh, I've actually been to heaven.
I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
well,
Bearings.
So we kind of talked about, so basically worldviews usually encompass four main things: origin, meaning, moralities, destiny.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Worldview.
Worldview, right.
So it kind of encompasses four main kind of things: origin, meaning, morality, destiny. So the last one you talked about is destiny. What do you believe happens after we die? So origin, where do you think we came from? What do you think the origin of life is? What do you think about that?
I believe there is probably a scientific explanation that we just have not been able to derive. If you look at the spread of history over, conscious thought of human beings, right?
Yeah.
Or capable of conscious thought, there are all kinds of things that we weren't capable of understanding, like flight or the planet going around the sun rather than the other way around, or penicillin or viruses or subatomic particles. We made up the best explanations we could come up with because we didn't have the scientific theory or technology to get a better understanding. And until you do, you do what you can. So I am willing to bet there is actually a scientific explanation for the origin of life or experience that right now seems impossible to believe or imagine, because the question is always, well, how can something come out of nothing? It's got to have some sort of divine spark, right? But again, I honestly have reached the point where I don't spend a lot of energy thinking about it, because we're just not going to know. It's that simple. You can come up with religious or other esoteric explanations for it, and
Do you think we're absolutely never going to know?
no, I think we will know, but I do think that it's going to be. I don't know when it would be, but
So if
I think it's more likely to be a scientific explanation rather than a supernatural explanation.
I think I actually would agree with you. It is a scientific explanation, and we're religious. We're Baptists. Technically, that's our background, but we believe in the Bible. We believe in what the Bible has said. I would actually argue with you that we do believe in science, not just to get into that, but because I look at this fountain, right? It's shooting out water. It's it's water is being poured into it, and then it's resupplying itself because of the water's just hitting right there.
Yeah,
And I would look at that and I'd say
a divine being could definitely invent the laws of physics and hypodynamics. Yeah, no, absolutely, that is possible.
So I actually do appreciate your honesty in saying, you don't know, because technically science, it's governed by the scientific method, that science has to be observable, repeatable, and testable.
Yeah.
So technically, at the beginning of the world, if you're only thinking in terms of science,
No,
you can't.
It's a theory.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just-
Yeah,
That-
it's a question
you
of
can jump into
it's a question
history,
of which theory seems more likely.
yeah.
And I was raised Catholic, and I've been moderately interested in different comparative mythologies and different religions and different origin stories. But ultimately, it's a question of faith. And belief in science over religion is also a question of faith.
Yeah.
It's just a different type of faith.
Sure.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, I don't have any problem with people who believe in a supernatural being putting this all in motion. I don't believe in it. I don't think there's as much evidence. But I also just, to me, it's not a huge issue. I'm personally much more focused upon what I'm going to do with my time here while I am alive.
Well, that's actually a good segue. So the next one, meaning. What do you believe the meaning of life is? Why are we here?
Oh, man. I don't know. I really don't know, and I have spent time thinking about that.
It's really humble of you. Most people really try to.
No, I have no idea. I honestly don't think I need to know in order to live a purposeful life, because unless somebody hands me incontrovertible truth of why I'm here, I'm just guessing. And so sometimes when my life's not going well, I think it's some sort of cruel, sadistic joke. You know, I have a son who's special needs, and for years I was really, really angry about the challenges he has to face and the things that he won't be able to experience. Really angry.
Why would you, okay, so are you atheist or more agnostic? Do you believe that something created, or you believe that nothing?
I'm sort of in between, to be honest with you. I would say that atheists tend to come at it where they would say there is no supernatural presence that created existence. Agnostics tend to say there might
created.
be, but I don't know what it is. I'm somewhere in between. I honestly, my answer is two parts. One, I honestly don't know, and two, I honestly don't care. Because I remember thinking about this once when I was having a conversation with somebody, I think I was in college, it was a long time ago, about whether creationism or dinosaurs, you know, which of those are more likely, and I just realized I don't care. You know, there's all kinds of dinosaur relics, right? Obviously. I think to suggest that those are all a fake or a fraud is insane. That would take such an immense amount of work, and I don't know what the motivation to do that would be. So yeah, I do believe that those fossils and all that scientific evidence is real. And no, I don't believe that the story in Genesis is to be taken literally. That makes no sense. It's just, but that's okay. I don't think that most stories in the Old Testament are meant to be taken seriously. I think they are allegories, and they are instructive in a symbolic way. That doesn't make them less interesting or less valuable. What I know of human nature, when people don't understand something, they'll come up with a narrative to give them some kind of answer, because it's hard to not know. And most people want to have something that they can lean on, that they can feel good about. That's not to impinge anybody who's religious. But for many people that are religious or that call themselves religious, I think it's because it gives them a sense of comfort or a sense of insurance.
I think.
But I know there are people that are true believers in what they say, and then there's people like me, and then there's people who are vehemently anti-belief.
Sure.
I will say, hang on, buddy, don't walk. You sit over there. It's my son.
Okay.
I think there's a huge difference for me between a belief in a higher power and religion.
Yeah.
I'm extremely anti-religion, but that doesn't mean I'm anti-belief.
What do you mean by that?
I don't think there's been anything that's been, just as a category of institution goes, I don't know if there's anything that's more destructive or has been more destructive in human history than organized religion. It's caused immense hardship and pain and suffering, and it's brought nothing that people couldn't have brought without it.
I would actually argue kind of the opposite, because if you look at some of the biggest murder sprees, millions and millions
that's where everybody
of people,
goes to.
It's been atheists, actually.
It depends on what you're talking about. I mean, if you want to talk about Stalin, that was basically a pseudo-religious organization where Stalin was the divine figure. Same thing with Mao. They were not what they purported to be. They were not truly socialist or communist organizations. They had
agendas.
supernatural.
Like every
Though they had
communist do.
supernatural leaders that were seen as above reproach and above beyond question and beyond fault. They were basically gods. Okay, in the Shinto religion, the head of the Shinto religion is the emperor of Japan. So a guy who's really good on this is a journalist by the name of Christopher Hitchens, who you guys may be familiar with. Wrote a very controversial but very hard to argue with book called God is Not Great. How religion poisons everything. And the question I would put forth is, what is it that religion has brought that people haven't been able to do without it? And the answer is nothing. There are all sorts of people that are charitable. There are all sorts of people that care about other people, that devote their lives to their care and to their betterment without being religious. It is Hamas, right? The terrorist organization in the Middle East has been incredibly successful in Lebanon and in Palestine because they do tons of charitable works. That's how they get inculcated into those communities. But they're absolutely a terrorist organization. So doing charitable work doesn't make your
religion
doesn't make your message beyond reproach. Yes, sir. Okay, I'll see you when you come back.
I would actually, I say, you know what, Jim? I see the image of God in you right now. And you're like, what? This guy's a lunatic. Anyways.
No, I appreciate that.
You're like,
no, I know what you're saying.
Because you're actually complaining against moral evils, and that's actually something that can, if in atheism, moralism, absolute morals don't exist.
That's not true. That's just not true.
Well, no, I'm saying absolutely. I'm saying, like, yes, I see.
You can have morals and ethics and not believe in a higher power.
But is it always moral? Or is it always morally wrong to say, kick a little kid?
But see, this is the thing. It depends upon where you think those morals come from. If you think that those morals only come from God, then your definition of it is accurate. I don't believe that they only come from God. I don't believe.
So you believe that there's a universal moral?
I believe that human consciousness is capable of knowing intuitively what is good and what is not.
Well, what about Hitler?
What about Hitler?
So say I'm Hitler right now, and I say, you know what, Jews are the scum of the earth. Yeah. I'm going to kill them. I don't really care who gets in my way. I think that's right. I think it's a good thing.
But that had nothing to do with religion.
No, I'm just saying, just a random person. Say I kick a little girl in the head, and I say, why is that
No.
wrong?
But if you have 100 people, regardless of whether they're religious or not, and you have them observe that, and you poll them and say, what do you think? 100 of them are going to say that's wrong.
So
regardless of what religion they are.
Determines.
No, not opinion as much as just intuition.
Where do you think that intuition comes from?
I honestly think it is inherent in consciousness. I think that people left to their own devices are able to connect with each other, and that their intuition is to have inherent camaraderie or collegialism. I think that it is unusual and abhorrent and apparent, almost a mutation of what you're normally inclined to be when you see people that are honestly cruel.
Yeah.
There are people that will act out of fear, out of their own self-interest, and do things that aren't okay, that are actually approach cruelty. Sure. But a lot of times that can be due to poor socialization, past trauma, and that's not to say they're not responsible for what they do, but I would say this: you watch little kids. Little kids aren't religious. Little kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They do what their mom and dad tell them to do. They're not making a conscious decision to be a Baptist or a Catholic or an agnostic, right? Little kids left to their own devices generally get along.
So there's also, I would actually, I mean, you have kids.
Well,
I work
okay,
with kids.
But they don't pick up a stick and hit each other.
Well,
they might. No, come on. No, come on. They're not.
I've worked with kids.
They
for
may
a while.
argue and squabble, but they're not cruel.
Kill one another.
They're not vicious. Okay. Yeah, they're little kids and they can get up to mischief and they can do stuff, but they're not going to kill each other.
Yeah.
They're not going to throw one group of kids in a concentration camp. Okay, that's not how little kids act.
Sure.
And that is kind of where I'm coming from, is that initial instinct as a human being inclines itself towards connecting with each other. Okay. Now, I don't have a bone to pick about religion. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't want anybody to ever force me or my children to be subjected to it if we don't want to be.
Gotcha.
So things like mandatory prayer in school, no way. Absolutely not. You raise your own children the way you want to, within the confines of your own home.
Sure.
I'm all for it. I'll be the first one to line up to defend you when people say you shouldn't be allowed to do it. But don't force me to be part of it.
Gotcha.
That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay.
But I don't. It's just not me, man. I was raised. I went to a Catholic school all the way through high school. I was given, daily instruction.
Yeah.
And at this point in my life, I find myself focusing upon what I'm going to do in the next hour, not what I'm going to do in the afterlife.
Gotcha. So now we have one more question.
Yeah, of course.
So we kind of went through origin, meaning, destiny. We kind of hinted at it a little bit, morality.
Yeah.
So where do you get your sense of right and wrong from?
I think about what is going to be the most beneficial to the common good. That kind of is my general understanding. And for me, having a sense of interconnectedness and mutual responsibility for each other, to the point where, at least to the point where individual choice begins and ends. So everything begins in your local community.
Yeah.
And you could even take it farther, but it begins in your own family, begins with the people that live on either side of you. And my sense of what's right and wrong is like, what's going to be the most beneficial for that group of people? What choice can I make? So that means that, like, if I'm playing my music really loud at night, I gotta
get up.
I gotta think. Well, I gotta think about my neighbors.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
If I litter, well, that's gonna affect other people. If I'm screaming at my kids, that's gonna affect them.
Sure.
And probably affect their own kids, because then they're gonna get used to that and they're gonna pass that on.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to get too global or supernatural for me. And I think, again, generally, people know what the answer to that is. And that trend. I mean, there's going to be little things like, this is a weird example,
Go for
but
it.
like in certain cultures, like spitting is not seen as gross as it might be if you
Sure,
if you
like
hock a
Greeks,
loogie.
right?
Yeah.
Greeks
Or
spit on to people to bless people.
I think I've
during
heard
a
that.
wedding.
Yeah, I'm
I've
also
seen that
thinking.
big fat Greek wedding. So if I was
Yeah, right there you go.
stereotyping, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But or maybe even just like talking loudly might be more common in certain cultures than it is others.
Sure.
That is
So there's just certain things that are just more of like
Cultural?
more negotiable, right?
Cultural.
But we're not talking about what. It's hard to
I
get out of
understand what you're saying.
at
yeah.
that level. Then you go beyond like, okay, so what's really the most useful thing there is to have a dialogue with that person. Instead of screaming at them, turn their music down. Maybe come over and say, "Hey, brother, can I talk to you for a sec? Look, I got to get up in the morning. My kids got school. Would you guys mind turning your music down a little bit?"
Yeah.
Then you can have an actual dialogue. It's not I'm right, they're wrong.
Now, this common good, how did you come to, I guess, that conclusion?
Well,
Because some
I
people
would
honestly
live as if
my parents.
Yeah, your parents. Okay.
My parents, and probably certainly I'll give my religious upbringing a strong round of applause for that too. I don't have anything negative to say about the clergy or teachers that I had. They were good people. They happened to be Catholic educators or Catholic clergy, so they were good people. But the thing that made them useful is because they were good people, not because they were Catholic. But I definitely won't make a generalization about people that are Catholic or people that are Jewish or Islam or Muslim or what have you, because that's just a stupid.
Sure.
So I'm not going to give somebody additional credit for being religious, but I'm not going to criticize them out of hand for being religious either.
Well, we'll leave you with this.
All right.
The Bible talks about, because who cares what we say, right? We're
No,
just
that's
just
okay.
our opinion.
Go ahead.
But we're going based off the Bible. The Bible talks about how you look at creation and you look at intelligent design and you look at things that are like the human body. You look at a building and you say, okay, that obviously somebody made that. That came from somewhere.
I got it.
But it also talks about how within that God is instilled in us a conscience, or we know right and wrong. I would actually argue that's why you're so strong about
Yep.
while loving people and about being honest
Okay.
with other people. But it also talks about how in our conscience we have a sin issue. We all know that we fall short of this standard. We're not good people. We're not good people because we're Christians, and we're not good people because we're just like Mother Teresa over here. We're not. We're bad people. The Bible talks about how we all fall short of the glory of God. How there's a standard, and we fell short of that standard.
And I hear what you're saying, and with all due respect, I think that's utter crap. Because what you're describing is a God that made us all sick and then commanded that we be well.
He didn't. Why
We're
did you say made us sick?
because you're saying we're all bad. Our nature is we are made in sin, that we are dealing with the mark of Cain upon us. I read the Bible too, and if you believe that literally, that would, based on our knowledge, that would make God a sadist, where he puts us in a place where by nature we fall short, and we're constantly trying to get better. I don't believe it. I just don't. I think that people can do things that are wrong or do things that are right, but I do not believe that a human being is born with marks against them.
It's not that they're born with a mark against them. It's that
What do you think the story?
You've chosen evil.
No.
We have all chosen to go in our own way. We
At
all
moments,
lie,
we've made decisions. Yeah, but you're
all-
just saying we're bad people, and I'm saying no, that's crap. I don't believe it. I don't think we're bad people. I think we made bad choices, which we usually live to regret. But I'm not going to believe that our natural state is in a state of sin.